This is JCTheSniper coming to you with another gear review, and today we've got for review the Gerber Evo. This is a full-sized, I would say, tactical folder. In philosophy of use, I would say this is a good tactical folding knife. And we're going to, for comparison, put it up against the Columbia River Knife and Tool M16-03z, which you've seen me review before. So anyway, we're going to compare these two knives as I review the Evo. Philosophy of use, as I said, tactical folder, EDC knife, can be used for utility as well. I find that it works quite well for utility, actually. I carried this knife for about 3 years as my primary carry knife, and you can see that it's gotten a good amount of wear from that, but it's held up fairly well. So decent quality knife overall. First of all, just by way of comparison, I'm just going to show you these two knives together. You can see it looks to me like Gerber has taken Kit Carson's design here a little bit. Look at those handles. They're identical. A little bit thinner for the Gerber, but this way, identical. Blades, nearly identical. They call this a spear point and they call this a clip point, but nearly identical blades. And the finger flipper, again, identical. So almost exactly the same knife. So this is why I chose to compare these two knives together. First of all, size. Gerber claims this blade to be 3.43 inches and this handle to be 4.61 inches, and somehow when they put those two numbers together they come up with a total of 7.95. I'm not sure how they do that, because when I add that blade length and that handle length, I get something just above 8 inches. So I don't know what happened with their math, but this knife is over 8 inches, not under 7 as they claim. And I find that the blade is actually closer to 4 inches than to 3.4. If we look at the Columbia River Knife and Tool, lay them side by side here, you'll see these knives are exactly the same length. Columbia River says their knife is 8.25 inches. Gerber says their knife is 7.95 inches. I'm going to have to say the Columbia River is more accurate. It's closer to 8.25 than it is to just under 8. So Gerber doesn't know what they're talking about with their numbers. Closer to 8.25 inches. Weight, Gerber wins in this category. This Gerber is 2.8 ounces. And that comes because this is a anodized aluminum handle, no solid backspacers, and only a little bit of liner, only a liner on one side that they need for the liner lock. And the liner lock is cut away where the handle is. So, very light design, 2.8 ounces versus the Columbia River Knife and Tool, which is 3.5. And you can feel that difference in hand. This is a much more substantial feeling knife than this. It's heavier, but still under 4 ounces, so this is an excellent weight as well. But the Gerber wins a little bit in weight because it's just a lighter knife. Quality, gonna have to say Gerber loses on quality. The Columbia River Knife and Tool just beats it there. The blade quality, Columbia River Knife and Tool wins. This blade is a little bit better. This is the blade of the Columbia River is a Aus 4 steel, and the Gerber is a 440 stainless. I think the Aus 4 is a better steel. It's a little bit harder than the Gerber. The Gerber steel is a little bit softer, doesn't hold an edge quite as well as this Aus 4 here in the Columbia River. So, blade quality, not quite as good for the Gerber. Again, I've carried this knife for 3 years, and the blade has held up well, but not quite as hard, and you're not going to get quite a razor edge on it like you can on this Columbia River. So, don't like that quite as much. The pivot point, not as good on the Gerber. There's a little bit of wiggle that way and this way, and there is none whatsoever on this Columbia River. So, it loses a little bit there in quality as well. It just does. Handle quality, probably about equal. A little bit different design, but good quality handle. Not quite as good design with the non-solid backspacers. This is a little bit stronger design with the solid Zytel backspacer. I like that better than the little screws and tiny spacers they've got in this one. But again, they're trying to lighten it, so they did well making a light knife. This is a little bit heavier, so loses a little bit in quality, but still good quality for this Gerber knife. Once again, I've been carrying this for 3 years, and it's held up well for that. Strength, also the Gerber loses a little bit in strength, as I've said, a little bit wiggly. Well, just, you know, it's got a little bit of wobble there, and this does not. It is solid. So, Gerber loses on strength. Strength of the handle, Columbia River probably wins as well with the solid backspacer and the stainless steel liners. But this handle is also strong, anodized aluminum, so it's a sturdy handle as well. But the blade of the Gerber a little bit weaker, and the pivot point a little bit weaker, and this liner lock is actually a little bit weaker as well, because this I could see under extreme stress that might slide over and fail, whereas this has this auto lock system, not going to let that slide over. I don't think this auto locks is necessarily a necessity on a knife. In fact, I could do without that, and I have with this Gerber Evo. So I don't think this is necessary. I think this is plenty strong for the job, but to be fair, this is probably a little bit stronger. So it loses a little bit there as well. Durability of the Gerber is excellent. You know, this finish is held up real well for the amount of time I've been carrying it. A little bit of wear here. Don't know if you can see that. Yeah, there it is. A little bit of wear, but held up really well. Also some wear here, where it's been, you know, it rubs in my pocket, so worn off some of that finish. But overall, that anodized aluminum handle has held up quite well. No complaints for the durability there. Gotten a little bit wobbly over time, but I've used this knife hard, so can't complain with that. Durability of the Columbia River also excellent. I mentioned in my previous video that I had a friend in the Rangers who carried this knife, this very knife here, on all his jumps, and it does not seem to have suffered from that. Still in excellent condition, held up quite well. So, very durable. Durability of this finish as compared to this one, this finish is probably not as good as this. Bead blasted finish versus titanium nitride coated blade, and that coating will wear off, whereas the bead blasting will not wear off because it is the metal of the blade, not an actual coating. So this can wear off, this cannot. Same with the handle. The Zytel is actually black. The coating, there's no coating to wear off, whereas this can wear off. So this is going to look a little bit more worn, but it doesn't affect the performance adversely. So durability of the finish is probably a little bit less on the Gerber, but I don't think it affects the performance of the knife itself. So I don't see that as a problem. Ergonomics are almost exactly the same. As you hold this knife, it feels pretty close to this knife because the handles are again identical in side profile. However, the Columbia River is a little bit thicker, as I've mentioned. You can see there, it's a little bit thicker. So it feels better in hand because of that added thickness. This does not grip as well because it's not as thick, but it is lighter. So light, a little bit better ergonomics. I'm running out of time here. We'll continue this discussion about the ergonomics of these two blades in part 2. So.